Please let us rise. Let us rise to welcome the Vice Chancellor of this university. The national anthem.
The national anthem.
Your state anthem. Your state anthem. Lautech anthem.
Lautech anthem.
We sing, oh Lautech, your promotion of applied sciences. Oh, see the spectrum and the beginning of the race of student, raise the formidable to the training of the total persons. Praise Lautech, praise Lautech, always stand for excellence. Praise Lautech, praise Lautech, integrity and service. Integrity and service. Integrity and service.
Please, let's be seated. We would like to officially welcome into our midst our very distinguished guest. We also like to welcome friends of Lautech and our well-wishers. This morning we are gathered for the first in the series of faculty lecture of the Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences. And It is also my pleasure to inform all of us that we are gathered even in the period of celebration, because it is celebration for us in LAUTECH. Celebration number one, that out of all universities in Nigeria, we have been declared 4th best. Celebration again because out of all the state universities in Nigeria, we are number 1. Celebration again because all the directors of academic plannings of Nigeria universities met. They decided to choose a leader, and they still came to LAUTECH for their leader. It is therefore part of us to celebrate always, and we shall continue to celebrate. That is because the leadership of LAUTECH is determined to march forward at all times. If you are here, please, a round of applause for yourself for being part of this ceremony. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we won't waste your time, but want to plead with you to be attentive to this lecture because it is very, very important to us. I'll start by introducing those on the high table. For now, we have just one person, and that is our number 1 man in LAUTECH. That is the acting vice chancellor of this very great university, a distinguished professor of biology, Professor Mojid Olaide Liasu. I would like to identify, invite to the item, the representative of the Akinwumi Academy. Please come to the item, sir. I'd also like to invite to the item a Margaret Thatcher. When I say Margaret Thatcher, not that she's tough, but when somebody knows her job, she has taken part of the traits of that erudite Margaret Thatcher. Dr. Mrs. Funke Ebijua, please come to the high table. She is representing the librarian of this university, and we are glad to have her. Our guest lecturer for this morning, Dr. Larry Umuna, please come to the high table. He is the regional director, Southwest at TechnoSouth. We are glad to have you, sir. I would like to also bring to the high table the regional manager of your state agribusiness development agency. He is standing in for the special advisor to the governor on agribusiness, Dr. Adebowale Akande. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me to bring to the high table Mr. Jetumobi Olusegun, regional manager of your state agribusiness development agency. I want to introduce another woman. She's wearing 2 caps. First, she's the chairperson, Committee of Deans and Provost of this university. And she is the Dean, Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences, Professor Beatrice Iyabo Adeomowaye. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I am sorry, but I want to make an observation. There is this thing that I've noticed among all past directors of academic planning of this university. The level of cooperation is number 1. And that is why I won't single them out. If you know that you have sat on the seat of director of academic planning in this university, please be upstanding for recognition. Professor Aishat Bonlande Akinwade, please be upstanding for recognition. It is good that you have maintained that cooperation. The Lord will keep going with you. Mr. Vice Chancellor, we have the Dean, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor Adewale Adetutu, please be upstanding for recognition. We also have the Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, past Director Academic Planning, Professor Simeon Jeka-Ifa, please be upstanding for recognition. Like I said, we won't waste your time, but I quickly want to recognize all lecturers in the Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences. Please be upstanding for recognition. You are welcome. We appreciate you for coming. It is well with you. This is number 1. We will all be around for number 2 and number 10. Faculty officer, Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences, please be upstanding for recognition. You are welcome, man. Because I know you participated in the planning. We would like to go at Dean of PG, Dean Pure and Applied Sciences, Professor Ogukule, please be upstanding for recognition. You are welcome, sir. At this point, we'll go straight to the program, and I'll call on the Dean, Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences, Chairman COPD, to give the welcome address. Professor Adeomowaye. Professor Adeomowaye, we are waiting for you.
Acting Vice Chancellor, also the chairman of this occasion, Professor M.O. Liasu, the registrar, ably represented by Mr. Akombi, the university bursar, represented by Dr. Ibijua, librarian, yes. The guest lecturer of today, Mr. Larry Umuna. Senate members, the special guest of honor, Dr. Debo Akande, ably represented by Mr. Ajay Sumobi, HODs, directors of units, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, great Ladokat, greatest Ladokat. I give all glory to the Lord of Lords, the Ancient of Days, and the God of the whole universe for making this day a reality. Our faculty is highly delighted to host today's public lecture titled Nexus Between Academia and Industry, a roadmap to sustainable development and food security. The public lecture, which is the first of its kind in the history of the faculty, is aimed at fostering a strong relationship between academia and industry and ensuring food and nutrition security in Nigeria, which is pivotal to achieving sustainable development in our economy. In most developing countries, academia and industry are two entities which operate on different pedestals. However, the current global aspiration is compelling that the duo should come together to address and solve some of the real world challenges, such as nutrition insecurity, sustainability, climate change, healthcare, among others. Food and nutrition insecurity is one of the major problems confronting Nigeria and other developing countries. Nigeria is a country richly blessed with abundance of natural and human resources. And if properly harnessed, this can feed its people. The source means earning of more foreign exchange. The cases of malnutrition are growing by the day. The food intake requirements, national standard. In fact, about 68% of Nigerians, they are living below poverty level. For Nigeria to have sustainable food security, food supplies must keep pace with the increasing population and urbanization. Groundbreaking research in agriculture and agro-allied disciplines such as food science, nutrition and dietetics, and others are attainable through collaboration between academia and industries. This will improve food and nutrition security in Nigeria and also fast-track the country's efforts in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, number 1, which is to end poverty, 2, zero hunger, 3, good health and well-being, and 4, quality education. Another pertinent concern is that the onus to work on our indigenous food crops, which have great nutritional potentials, lies on African scientists, since such food commodities are either unknown in advanced countries or will not receive the attention of foreign sponsors. Mr. Chairman, sir, ladies and gentlemen, we have got a competent and well-experienced entrepreneur, human capacity builder, a motivator, as our guest speaker of today, in person of Mr. Larry Umuna. He has made and is still making significant contributions to SDGs 1, 2, 3, and 4. I may bold to say that our resource person has excelled in agriculture and enterprise development. On this note, I, on behalf of the faculty members, welcome our guest lecturer and the special guest of honor to LAUTECH. Although the special guest of honor is joining us online, he has a representative here. He's honorably absent here because he's on official assignment outside the nation. I welcome them to LAUTECH, the best state university and the 4th best in Nigeria. And I say a big thank you to them for honoring our invitation. Mr. Larry Umuna is an extremely busy person, but because of his keen interest in participating in education transformation and promoting strong linkage between academic and private sectors, he paid the sacrifice of being in LAUTECH since yesterday. Thank you very much. The faculty really enjoyed our get together with him yesterday. He shared a lot of his experience with us. He has charged us to stand out, to think out of the box, so that we can be one of the leading fields promoting food science and technology and other food-related programs in Nigeria and beyond. I also thank the acting Vice Chancellor, Mr. Dr. Professor Emo Oleasu, for his consent to hold this public lecture and for supporting the program fully. Thank you very much, sir. I cannot but appreciate all officers, professors, HODs, directors, online audience, other members of the university community, and our students that are here seated, and those that are joining us online. I'm highly impressed that you have turned out in your large number to attend this public lecture. I strongly believe that given the wealth of experiences of our research person, your time here will not be a waste. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you are most welcome to this public lecture. Thank you and happy listening.
Thank you so much, our chair COPD. We have accepted the fact that you have welcomed us. But when you described Dr. Umuna as a guest, I now began to wonder. Guest, even after the activists, he admitted him into the membership of this community. Don't worry, Dr. Umuna, you are not a guest, you are part of us here. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. At this point, we'll break protocol a little bit. The meeting, we would like to go back to that meeting. Will you please welcome to the podium the Vice Chancellor of LAUTECH, Professor Liasu, to give his address.
May you please sit down. Thank you very much. My speech goes thus. The principal officers, registrar, bursar, and the university librarian, the provosts of colleges, the deans of faculties, professors, head of departments, directors, the guest speaker, Mr. Larry Umuna, the special guest of honor, Dr. Debo Akande, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, great Ladokites. I mean, greatest Ladokites. I mean, greatest of the greatest Ladokites. Thank you very much. It is with great pleasure and gratitude to the Most High God that I welcome you all to Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso, Oyo State. The Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences, since its inception, has been on the front line of making significant contributions to the enviable image of our institution. Specifically, it is the faculty's target to explore the valuable advantages of our relationship with the industry for the benefit of our students and faculty members. Therefore, this faculty lecture titled Nexus between academia and industry, a roadmap to sustainable development and food security, is one of the numerous lectures that are aimed at establishing the relationship between our institution and the industries and strengthening the collaboration between town and gown. This is aimed at charting a glorious future for our institution to further achieve the vision of the founding fathers, which is to make it a center of academic excellence for the advancement of technology in meeting the socio-cultural needs of the society. While still welcoming participants, especially from TechnoServe and the executive advisor to the Oyo State Governor on Agribusiness, Dr. Debo Akande, your coming here today will assuredly facilitate and accelerate the realization of our dreams of making the Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences one of the best centers for education, training, and consultancy, leading the field of food science and technology, nutrition services in the world. I need to thank the faculty for organizing this public lecture at this auspicious time. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, today's public lecture aims at bridging the gap between universities and industries as a means of achieving food security and sustainable development goals, SDGs, especially SDG 2, zero hunger, SDG 3, good health and well-being, and SDG 4, quality education. Food security is an indispensable prerequisite for the survival of mankind and its economic activities, including food production, including food production. Food security is also an integral part in a nation's quest for economic growth and development. In Nigeria, there's a high level of food insecurity for the past decades. We hope that the collaboration of food science and other food-related disciplines within the university with food industries will reduce the food insecurity problem in Nigeria. Collaboration between university and industry has given life to many blockbuster discoveries over the years. Research findings from universities have been the pivot of monumental industrial innovations in many developed countries. Although it is gradually becoming the norm in some Nigerian universities, suffice it to say that it has not been fully explored. In addition, it is the quest for the prospective funders to receive problem-solving results from their grantees. The contemporary cohorts of students are equally eager to explore entrepreneurial opportunities, often with a focus on social enterprise. University/industry collaboration can bring many benefits, including a two-way flow of ideas. Resources can flow out to industries, and they can also be inbound to fuel research questions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have no doubt that today's lecture, Nexus between academia and industry, a relationship or a roadmap to sustainable development and food security, will be educated and impactful. Thank you all for accepting to grace this occasion, and I wish you very happy listening. At this juncture, I would also like to declare this lecture open. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure we're making progress. At this point, we would like to advise the executive advisor to the Oyo State Governor, Dr. Debo Akande, to unmute so that he can deliver his goodwill message online.
Thank you very much. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol because of time. I brought greetings from the Oyo State government and from your son, your brother, His Excellency, Governor Oluwaseyi Makinde, the Executive Governor of Oyo State. I will ordinarily have loved to be in this lecture physically because it is something that I resonate with strongly because of my background in the academics and the research world as well. And beyond that, considering the fact that this is also an engagement with our younger generation, that we expect to be the great champion causes of our work within the state now and in the future, not just in the future, now and in the future. But unfortunately, as rightly been pointed out, I had to travel for something that is going to be of interest to the state and for us as well. We went to support a negotiation on behalf of your state in the area of agriculture or agribusiness with the African Development Bank. I believe this is already in the public domain for us to know, and this has something to do with what you are doing today as well. It's about food, it's about the food value chain, it's about things that has to do with agriculture. The good news is that we got the deal signed with the African Development Bank, and in the next couple of days, all of us in the state will be hearing how this is going to benefit us. Again, I also believe strongly that we are all aware of the 4 pillars of the state, primarily on education, health, security, and expanded economy. And that the expanded economy of Oyo State is primarily going to be built on our area of competitive and comparative advantage. Quite interestingly, during the presentation with the African Development Bank, one of the things that was mentioned was Ogbomoso mango and cashew from Ogbomoso as well. How will this be transformed from just primary crops that is being done within the state to an exportable processed product? So it shows how important, even in agricultural production, the region where this great university is situated is the role that it's playing. So for us as a state, the expanded economy is going to be built on agriculture, agribusiness, where we have our area of comparative advantage. And so therefore, what we are doing today is actually very important to us in the state, because we don't claim to know it all. We claim to know in path, but to also learn, from what other knows. And I believe what we'll be getting from your deliberation today, from the lecture that will be delivered, from the discussion that will take place, are some of the things that we as a state can learn from, and we can adopt in continuing our work in expanding our economy through agriculture. I think it's very important to mention that what we are doing in the state in the area of agricultural agribusiness is novel. It is not the usual. It is not the business as usual, not the way it is being done. So we'll be seeing quite a lot of a paradigm shift from the way things were being done in the past to something that is a little bit new. We're focusing strongly on what we refer to as industrial agriculture. We are not jettisoning the issue of the small holding farmers, but we are adding the aspect of industrial agriculture to it. And I believe this is where the kind of your faculty have a major role to play. If you're engaging in industrial agriculture, you're engaging in agribusiness, it means that you are looking at agriculture from a very global perspective. You are looking at agriculture from a dimension of value chain. You are looking at agriculture from a more of a demand-driven approach. You are looking at agriculture not just in isolation, but the midstream, the upstream, and the downstream combined together. You are looking at the food system, and if you are doing all this in these modern days, it entails quite a lot. It entails you engaging in innovation. It entails you engaging in using modern approaches. It engages you in using technology. It require you putting in perspective the modern knowledge. And this is what we are bringing into practice within the state going forward. And maybe you have seen why agriculture or agribusiness is taking traction within the state. We have already started constructing a good number of agribusiness industrial hubs across the state, starting with a particular one at the Fashola in Oyo town. This industrial hub will be circulated across the whole of the region in the state. And as God continues to support us, we will continue to expand on it. I was made believe that the economy of Taiwan, which was one of the case studies that was seen during the African Development Bank negotiation meeting a couple of days ago, that their economy was literally built, and this was the data was shown to us, on expansion of agricultural agribusiness industrial hub across the whole of the country. And today, a country that we used to be at par with has gone far beyond us because they have engaged in agricultural industrialization. And I think this is the angle that we should be thinking around as an institution. Like I said earlier, playing around this particular approach requires quite a lot: innovation, mechanization, modern knowledge, modern approach, doing things differently. But there is no way we can do this without the academics, because you are the citadel of knowledge. You are where the knowledge is domiciled, and you are the one that has the younger generation with dynamics, with you. They are there. I've seen them on the video seated in the meeting room or the conference room just now. And these are the ones that we will be relying on. So we believe that the lecture that will be delivered today will prompt many of them to see that the area that they have chosen is an area that is going to be highly lucrative, the area that is quite needed for the state, and that the academics, more than ever before, now is when we need you to support us, where the gown need to meet the town. I want to say a big congratulations for taking this bold step, a big congratulations for all the achievement that has been reeled out by LAUTECH just at the beginning of this program, and a big congratulations for your faculty for engaging in this first lecture. I know Dr. Okumuna very well. We've worked together for a very long time. So I know you can't get better than the individual that you have brought to start this lecture. Is known in the field where we are as being somebody that has done a lot practically, not just theoretically. So I'm very, very confident that the outcome of today's meeting is going to be exceptional and that you will all benefit from it. May God bless the meeting. And I hope and pray that at the end of the whole meeting, we will have much more engagement and see where we can support you and you can support us as a state. Thank you very much and God bless.
We have all listened to the special advisor to the governor on agribusiness in Oyo State. That message was important to us, coming from the owners of this university. And so I want to plead with you to give him another round of applause. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we go to the next item on the agenda, I quickly want to introduce those that I missed out initially. And I will start by introducing the Dean of the Postgraduate School, Professor Amos Ogoshola. Please be upstanding for recognition, sir. I'd also like to call on Professor D.P. Oparinde, the Dean, Faculty of Basic Clinical Sciences, to please be upstanding for recognition. When I called up those who lecture in the Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences, I missed out someone, a critical part of that faculty, Professor Ezekiel Otola. Please be upstanding for recognition. You are welcome, sir. At this point, may I invite to the podium Dr. Victoria Abioye to introduce the guest lecturer by reading his citation.
Once again, I want to welcome us to the lecture series for the Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences. And I believe that at the end of the lecture, all of us would have gained one thing or the other. I'm here to read the citation of our guest speaker, the person of Mr. Larry Omna, the Regional Director of TechnoServe, West Africa. I will humbly request that he will stand up as I read the citation. Mr. Omna bagged a degree in biochemistry from the University of Benin, and he also has an MSc in nutritional biochemistry from the University of Ibadan. He is an alumnus of the Lagos Business School and WIT Business School, South Africa. Mr. Omna is a member of the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, NIFST, and also a member of the South African Association of Food Science and Technology, SAFOST. In 2004, Mr. Omna was honored with the fellowship of the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, and this is due to his contribution to the development of nutrition, food science, and technology in Nigeria. He is a well-respected thought leader in the field of agriculture, nutrition, and food processing. in the African continent. He's a regular speaker on issues relating to food security, nutrition, agribusiness, and the role of business in development. These are some of his work experience. Mr. Omna worked in sales and marketing department for Roche Products Limited, subsidiary of F. Hoffmann, La Roche, Switzerland, where he managed the sales, marketing, and new business development of the company in 36 countries. In Sahara, and there he increased by double-digit growth. Prior to his managing large-scale international development programs, Mr. Homna also served as executive director of Johannesburg-based consulting firm, where he worked with a variety of public and private sectors to develop the South African Alliance Against Malnutrition and to advocate for new legislation that promoted fortified, nutritious food products. Dr. Larry Umna has over 30 years of management experience in international development and in the private sector. He has been actively involved in development of nutritious food products from local agricultural commodities and creating strong business linkages between farmers and the processing industry. Though his work experience cut across the entire value chain, he has focused primarily on processing and consumption of nutritious foods. Mr. Larry Umna has been able to address the systematic changes facing the private sector and development in value-added processing activities in Africa. He has been able to implement a variety of agricultural and nutrition-focused interventions, ranging from independent consulting projects to major donor-funded programs in challenging and undeserved environments across 36 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Mr. Ona has a deep knowledge of developing strategies for building and growing businesses and working with local, national, and regional governments and other stakeholders to achieve mutual goals. Currently, he is the West African Regional Director for TechnoServe. Mr. Omna leads a team of 210 staff and has the task of overseeing the design, development, and implementation of programs across West Africa. He also drives strategy for the region as a whole. He has the responsibility of leading and coordinating efforts to position the organization as the most effective catalyst and partner for transformative, on-the-ground, market-based solutions to poverty and mobilization of public and private sector investment for agriculture. As the first Nigeria country manager and the African regional representative for the Global Alliance for Improved Food Nutrition, Mr. Omna provided strong leadership to an initiative that resulted in the first national country-led workshop on mainstreaming nutrition into agriculture, which helped develop the agricultural transformation agenda and food and nutrition strategy in Nigeria. He also played a major role in the development of the strategic plan for operationalizing the transformative partnership for high energy, nutritious foods in Africa. Mr. Omna led his team to implement the State Partnership for Agriculture project to support some states which include the Benue, Kogi, and Kaduna in Nigeria, to develop the agricultural policy and agricultural investment plan. He doubled the revenue of TechnoServe in West Africa within 12 months by developing and launching the innovative micronutrient fortification index and hosting successful high-level interministerial consultative roundtables for different countries. Tomatoes for Nigeria, food fortification in Nigeria, Kenya, and Tanzania, cashew in Benin Republic, cocoa in Cote d'Ivoire, and entrepreneurship in Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ghana. He was also involved in some presentation of keynote addresses. In 2014, Mr. Omna delivered a keynote address titled Food and Nutrition Security and Fundamental Rights for All Nigeria at the prestigious biennial J.K. Ladipo Memorial Lecture hosted by Nigeria Institute of Food Science and Technology. In the year 2015, he was also the keynote speaker at the 10th anniversary of Bells University of Technology, Otta, where he delivered a paper on agriculture, food and nutrition interface, advancing the frontiers in Nigeria. He also featured as keynote and guest speaker at the International Sustainability Conferences convened by the Lagos Business School in the year 2017 and 2018. Also at the University of Ibadan College of Medicine in 2017 and the year 2019. In June 2020, Mr. Omna was appointed by the Nigeria Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning as a member of Technical Working Group, TWG, for the preparation of Medium-Term National Development Plan, MTNDP, for 2021 to 2025, and Nigeria Agenda for 2050. Recently, in September 2021, Mr. Ono was invited to serve on the Global Advisory Panel of the prestigious Global Micronutrient Forum in recognition of his expertise and lifelong contribution to the field of micronutrients and nutrition. He is also a family man, and he takes the culture and tradition of his people seriously. He is Onowa Ibusa. He is happily married to Dr. Fumi Omna, a consultant family physician, and the union is blessed with 3 children, all doing well in their respective endeavors. With standing ovation, I want you to help me welcome this important and highly esteemed personnel. You are welcome, sir.
Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, though I believe. I know I can count on me. So stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up.
Thank you.
Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for that very kind introduction. I hope you can all hear me very clearly.
the acting vice chancellor, the principal officers, the dean of the faculty, all deans present here, all professors and lecturers here, great students of LAUTECH, great Ladokites, greatest Ladokites, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to stand on the existing protocol. Let me start by, first of all, stating very clearly that I am extremely very privileged to be here today to deliver this public lecture. I would like to give special thanks to the dean. Okay, thank you. So it is indeed for me a great pleasure to be here, and I would like to thank Professor Adeomowaye for facilitating the process that has resulted in me being here today. So thank you so much for that, and also like to thank her and her team for the very kind hospitality. I truly have enjoyed being here I've been here for the last 24 hours, and it's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for your hospitality. I would also like to thank my sister and friend and fellow professional colleague at the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, Professor Bolanle Akinwade, for the kind introduction to LAUTECH. She insisted, she made sure that I accepted this invitation. So thank you. But the reality is, it is indeed a honor and pleasure for me to be here. A pleasure because it's an opportunity for me to share some of my perspectives, but also I hope that at the end of the day, I would also inspire the numerous students that are here today, and that you all begin to see things that are happening outside of us. I would also like to thank Debo Akonde, Dr. Debo Akonde, the Executive Advisor, Agribusiness to Governor Makinde, who just spoke to you earlier, for finding time to be part of this particular event. So thank you all. So what I would like to do in the next 45 minutes is to basically walk you through the protocol, some key themes around the state of nutrition. I would like to talk about food systems. I'm sorry, let's just get these administrative things off. Thank you, sir. So in the next 45 minutes, I'll give some insights into the state of nutrition globally and in Nigeria. We would also need to talk about food systems, where it's important that we're all on the same page about what we mean about food systems and what can we do to transform our food systems and make the food systems very sustainable and achieve our goals towards improved food security. I would attempt to use case studies from two programs that we implement at TechnoServe, a large-scale food fortification and a cashew program, to illustrate how using a food system approach can indeed result in sustainable development. And then I will delve into the topic that you've asked me to speak on and attempt to tell you what I think should be the role of academia and industry in sustainable development. In the course of my presentation, I will make some recommendations and hopefully we would have some nice conclusion. So I think the first step will be for us to ensure that we're all on the same page regarding what we mean by food security and sustainable development. And I've actually put in there, inserted nutrition security. We should not be talking about food security alone today. We should be talking about food and nutrition security. And the definition out there, which is established and well accepted by everybody, is that when we talk about food and nutrition security, we're talking about a system, a situation where all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their food preferences and dietary needs for an active and healthy life. This is a definition that is accepted by everybody and stakeholders, and every word there really matters. But when we also talk about sustainable development, I hope we're all on the same page that we're talking about conducting economic development in ways that preserve environment and natural resources. So if at the SDGs was actually established by the UN General Assembly. And the expectation is by the year 2030, we would have achieved all the goals related to that are stated out there. There are 17 sustainable development goals that are expected to help us guide worldwide development for the next 15 years. These goals are ambitious, but they are achievable and they are realizable. The SDGs are particularly important for malnutrition reduction because they challenge us to end malnutrition by 2030. The interesting thing about the SDG is that nutrition feeds into 12 of the 17 SDGs. And of course, there are dozens of indicators that are being used to track the SDGs. There are actually about 242 indicators that the United Nations have designated to track the 17 SDGs. And they conclude that 56 of those indicators are highly relevant for nutrition. But the key point to note from this particular slide, ladies and gentlemen, is that at least 12 SDGs provide indicators that we need to track for nutrition. It's also important for us to note that poverty and inequality, that water, sanitation and hygiene, education, food systems, social protection, climate change, and agriculture all play an important part on nutrition outcomes. Which is why this slide is important for us to recognize that the underlying drivers for improved nutrition status. Nutrition is actually understood as both an input to and an outcome of sustainable development. So when we talk about malnutrition, which is both undernutrition and overnutrition, because more often than not, we think that malnutrition is just undernutrition. But when we're talking about nutrition, we need to think about both under and overnutrition. And that it does not derive only from a lack of food, but from a host of interacting processes linking healthcare, linking sanitation, has an impact that comes from education, is influenced by women's empowerment, and many others. And that's why this slide is important. And so the decisions that we make on what we produce and market, on the diets our families eat, on the care that we provide to the vulnerable group, especially mothers and children, they all directly impact on nutrition outcomes. And so let's first do a deep dive into what the problem is. Globally, and this is according to the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World Report 2018, over 800 million people suffer from chronic hunger. We have 2 billion of the 7 billion that live in this world deficient in vitamins or minerals. 1 in 3 people worldwide are malnourished. 151 million people under the age of 5 are stunted. And there's a very strong correlation between stunting and productivity, between stunting and economic development, between stunting and cognitive development. And of course, this same report talks about 1.9 billion people either overweight or obese. So there's indeed a problem, and it is a big problem. But if we come back home to Nigeria, we then see that the results, the picture of the state of nutrition of Nigeria is very unflattering. It is very unfortunate that a country that is meant to be the giant of Africa displays very unflattering, dismal picture. We are ranked number 1 in Africa and number 2 in the world in terms of number of children that are malnourished. We have a situation where 14 million children under the age of 5 in Nigeria are stunted. 25 million people are hungry. I actually think that it should be more than this, but these are figures from the NDHS 2018. We have 9.3 million people suffering from acute food insecurity. What makes it even worse is that this has been the trend for the last 10 years. We have not seen any difference in any change, little or no reduction. Even in some years when we thought we saw a dip, the following year we saw things going up again. So why have we not been able to put a permanent dent on the undernutrition numbers or the malnutrition numbers in Nigeria? What is the reason for that? And in the years when we appeared to have reduced the numbers, what did we do there? Did we take note of what we did when we saw a dip? A situation where 1 out of every 3 children in Nigeria are stunted is unacceptable. What even makes it worse is that Nigeria remains off track. We are not on track to achieve SDG goals. Based on the situation that we have right now, SDG 2 will be difficult to achieve unless we do something very drastic. It cannot be business as usual if we are really keen to achieve our SDG goals. And of course, the situation has been made worse because of the COVID situations, which actually set us back a few years. So what do we really need to do? But I also thought to share with you a map of Nigeria that shows the distribution for you to really appreciate the magnitude of the problem. We have states where child stunting of children under the age of 5 is as high as 65%. And of course, we have states in the South where we have stunting levels as low as 14%, e.g. Anambra State. But I can't help noticing here that Oyo State has stunting levels of 35%. And it's actually the only southern state, the only state in the South with levels over 30%. And I think we need to ask ourselves, what are we as an academic institution doing to work with the government of Oyo State to ensure that we deal with the level of stunting? And I think LAUTECH has a role to play, particularly this faculty. If we even look again, this is to emphasize that 10 of the 37 states in Nigeria actually contribute to over 50% of stunted number of children in Nigeria. So let's talk a little bit about the consequences of malnutrition. And the reason why I'm spending some time talking about this is for us to first appreciate the role of nutrition and the importance of food systems in sustainable development. Because if we do not understand the magnitude of our problem, it becomes difficult for us to be able to come up with the right solutions to deal with them. If you look at the Human Capital Index, Nigeria scores pretty low there, 0.3 out of 1, the score. And we rank 152 out of 157 countries, which indicates a very low human capital index. And that means that we really need to do something about it. The Human Capital Index attempts to quantify the contribution of health, including nutrition and education, to the next generation of workers. The literature is full of data and examples and actually clearly shows that investments in nutrition, reduction in stunting can increase GDP by between 4 and 11%. That's been clearly stated. And this link between nutrition and productivity, between nutrition and GDP growth, was first brought to our attention in 2006 by the World Bank in a very interesting publication called Repositioning Nutrition as Central to Development. And in the last 3-4 years, the global nutrition reports have clearly indicated that if serious countries invest in nutrition, we would definitely see an increase in our gross domestic product. We also know that children who escape stunting are 33% more likely to escape poverty as adults. These are not my numbers. These are data that has been established. We also do know that early nutrition programs can raise adult wages by between 5 to 50%. We even have our own ambassador, one of the most prominent sons of Nigeria, Dr. Acknowledgements, who is the president of the African Development Bank. I had the privilege of accompanying him to the second International Conference on Nutrition in Rome in 2014. He was then Minister of Agriculture for Nigeria. And one of our proudest moments there was when Dr. Acknowledgements made this very, very important quote. And he said, and these are his words, not my words, the greatest contributor to economic growth is not physical infrastructure, but brain power. What he refers to gray matter infrastructure. Dr. Acknowledgements went on to say that stunted children today lead to stunted economies tomorrow. I'll repeat that. Stunted children today lead to stunted economies tomorrow. Very profound words. And it was also very fortuitous to note that 2 years later, he became the president of the African Development Bank. And a significant part of the work the bank is doing now is investing in human capital. So if we know that 6 of the top 10 risk factors for the global burden of disease are diet related, then the key question is, why is our food system not working? Do we put the diet quality into consideration when we are designing our food systems? And so the high-level panel of experts in 2017 came up with this framework, a framework that says the quality of diet should be in the center of any conversations that we have. But we cannot ignore the role and the importance of the food environment. We need to worry about the consumer's preferences, the consumer's purchasing power, the knowledge of the consumer. We need to worry about the environment, the taste, the physical access, price, food labeling, food promotion. But they also go ahead to say that we can't ignore the more external environment, issues around storage, logistics, the retail, agricultural production systems. So when we're talking about the drivers of food systems, we should think about these various factors because they end up shaping and influencing food quality. This is a very more complicated and more impressive diagram, a conceptual framework that was presented by FAO in 2017, basically confirming the points that I just made, that we must worry about supply chains, we must worry about environment, we must worry about consumer behavior if we truly want to change diets that deliver the SDGs. It's non-negotiable. There are no shortcuts to it. We also know that Professors Denning and Fanzo of Johns Hopkins actually reflected on the 10 key forces that shape the global food systems. And you can recognize many of those key forces: degradation of natural resources, climate change, consumer behavior, culture and tradition, globalization, conflicts and fragile states, government policies, sustainability. I'm sure you are all familiar with these key forces. But what was quite interesting was in this report, they actually talk about the need for us to produce a world that is hungry for nutrition. We also know that value and power in food systems are changing. There's lots of changes happening. We have longer food chains due to trade, due to globalization. Our demands are changing. Our tastes are changing as well. And that is also the reason, and I'm sorry if you can't see the contents here, as food chains lengthen, the opportunities for nutrition to move in and out should increase as well. What is Fanzo saying in this report? He is saying that if we maximize nutrition entering the food supply chain, if we invest our resources on improved and traditional varieties, if we focus on women, on diversification, if we deal with aflatoxin control, if we put system fermentation, fortification, if we reduce salt and sugar, if we have the right messaging going out, we would ultimately maximize the opportunities for nutrition. We need to minimize those things that makes it difficult for the food supply chain to function. And that means we should deal with issues around lack of access to input seeds, lack of improved knowledge, nutrient losses, for example. And that's really what that is talking about. But we also know that you have businesses everywhere. Businesses are everywhere in the food system. And the private sector can either be part of the problem or the solution. But we can't wish them away. The food industry is here to stay. The food industry plays a strong role in our lives. And so when we are considering the food systems, we need to consistently ask ourselves, what is the role of the food system? What is the role of the private sector? And that means that we need to recognize the role they play in distribution, the role they play in refrigeration, in processing, and other aspects of this. We also know that the private sector is a primary source of consumers' food supply. No matter how we like it, whether we like it or not, and data compiled by the World Bank, it actually states that in Nigeria, 85%, the bulk of consumers' food, actually 85% of the foods that most of us eat comes from the private sector. There's a lot of argument about whether those in the rural areas actually eat foods that are processed. The data actually shows that the food private sector is able to reach those in rural and urban poor populations. But what is also very clear is that many low-income consumers are still not being reached with affordable nutrition. The interesting thing about this slide is that we should be thinking about that those billions of people that are in the middle of this pyramid. And if we remember a book written by C.K. Prahalad, which was titled The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, you then understand that there's a huge market there at this level there. How can you, as Lautech, help industries to reach those people at the bottom of the pyramid? If we recognize that there's a lot of opportunities at the bottom of this pyramid, and people are looking for nutritious foods to get to them. What can you do as Lautech to make that happen? when I talk about LAUTECH, I'm also specifically referring to the Faculty of Food and Consumer Science. So there's a lot we can do to unlock incentives to transform our food systems. And some of those things we can do, and there's a role for everybody. But I will focus on private sector and academia. And by academia, I'm referring on this slide to research and thought leaders. We know that we can support the behavioral shift of consumers and farmers through 4 incentive pathways. We can work towards repurposing public investment and policies pathway. We can look at the whole issue around the business model innovation. We can help with institutional investment pathways, or those 2 group of stakeholders can also help with consumer behavior change. But let me focus on private sector and academia. So for the private sector, one way of repurposing public investment and policies pathway is to use your voice. The private sector can use its voice as a collective and powerful voice to advocate for change. Another way they can also help is to engage in developing prototypes on new business models and new technologies that can deliver triple bottom line results, not only financial, but social and environmental. They can also be useful in investing in shared open data solutions. We know the private sector can help in providing investors with data and social and environmental performance. What about research? All of you here in this academic world, we know that for us to be able to effectively transform the food systems, we expect researchers and thought leaders to help develop innovative policy solutions. We trust with new ideas for business model innovations. We believe that you have the capacity to promote and enable the transfer of knowledge and evidence-based solutions, and many others. But is that what you are doing? And I'm sure, yes, that you are making the right investments and you have the desire and the will to do that. But let's shift a little bit. And I would like to spend the next few minutes to just to share some practical examples of how TechnoServe, my organization, has been able to take a full system approach in the implementation of our projects, with a special focus on impact, on sustainability, and recognition of the various stakeholders that play in that ecosystem. But it will be very helpful for me to first tell you who we are. Who is TechnoServe? We've been around for 53 years. We're a not-for-profit organization. We're a non-profit organization that works in over 30 countries. We have about 1,200 employees, and we take great pride in providing business solutions to poverty. How do we work? It's very simple. We empower small-scale farmers and entrepreneurs with the skills and knowledge they need to earn more money. Increasing the income of smallholder farmers and entrepreneurs is something that is important to us. It's in our DNA. We connect these small businesses and farms to better suppliers, better financing, and better markets. Access to markets, access to finance, access to suppliers. But we also recognize the need to sustain this progress by improving the business environment for these small producers. But the difference between us and many other international nonprofits is that we're not about handouts. We don't give out money. No, we don't do that. We're about market opportunities, because that's the only way we can create lasting lasting solutions. That's the only way we can scale up. Many of us come from private sector. I spent the first 16 years of my life in private sector. So at TechnoServe, almost 60–70% of us have worked in private sector. And so when we implement projects, we are not speaking from theory. We know what we're talking about. And we can engage with industries very easily. We always believe in making a business case for anything that we do. And we use world-class market analytics to identify opportunities. But we also look at the entire value chain. We take a holistic approach and ask ourselves, how can we find systemic solutions to systemic problems? TechnoServe is known for having the ability to change market systems to the poor at industry, at national and regional levels. We believe in data. We don't suck numbers from the air. We believe in rigorously measuring and publishing the results of our projects. We use this data to constantly improve our approach. And we've just quite recently set up a TechnoServe laboratory to help us combine our local understanding with global tech expertise. But we also cannot ignore the whole issue around climate change. And so we believe right now we've just developed a regenerative business strategy, because we want to develop ambitious solutions that will benefit people, that will benefit climate, and will benefit nature. And so Strengthening African Processed Fortified Foods, it's a project that is being funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And in that project, the foundation had asked us to help increase compliance to large-scale food fortification. We know that the law in Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, and many countries, the law states that foods that are declared as adequately fortified must truly be fortified. If you really say that your food contains these vitamins and minerals, they must be fortified. In reality, for a very long time, the reality behind there's a difference between the claims. Most companies claimed that they put those micronutrients in wheat flour, vegetable oil, and sugar, but that was not the case. Lots of surveys that was done prior to 2016 showed that compliance levels were quite below 50%. And so we went to the Gates Foundation and we said, let's take a different approach. Instead of us using the big stick and sending NAFDAC and SOM to the factories, why don't we put the food industry in the center of the conversation and build their capacity to be able to fortify? And so we started this project. We created a business case for food fortification. We worked to enhance the enabling environment. We focused on helping the companies think about profitability and competitiveness. And we provided technical assistance on a regular basis to the companies, flour industries, salt industries, vegetable oil, and sugar. We also decided to elevate the conversation beyond the quality assurance managers. And we started what we call the CEO Forum, the Chief Executives Forum. So this picture you see here, this picture you see here of Alhaji Aliko Dangote was taken in 2018 when we asked Mr. Dangote to mobilize all the CEOs of these various companies. And every year since 2018, Mr. Dangote and Mr. Bill Gates hold a CEO forum where they sit down and they say, how are we doing as a company? Is my company complying? The CEOs ask themselves that question. And what that has meant is that the CEOs have now gone back to their respective factories and told all their technical people, we must comply. Of course, we pick samples, we send samples to the lab, but that has actually resulted in increased compliance. But between 2013 and 2015, we were seeing compliance levels of between 13 and 20%. By 2020 December, a survey that was done showed that we had compliance at 90%, 90, across wheat flour, sugar, and salt. Sadly, edible oil still remained at 33%. Edible oil remained at 33% of the fragmented nature of the edible oil sector. Now, this doesn't mean that it will remain 90% forever. You need to be able to sustain the interest of the companies to continue to fortify. And remember, we said it's about getting the companies to accept that this is their responsibility, but creating an enabling environment for them and providing the right technical assistance to them. But what have we also done? We have now basically established what we call the Micronutrient Fortification Index. This is an index, and for those of you who know about the stock exchange and indexes, we've set up an index where these companies will be ranked. And you all know that companies like to be competitive. Every company wants to be number one. Every company wants to be the best. It was very interesting to listen to your PRO to be the first. Companies want to be on top of the ranking. And so in collaboration with the Lagos Business School, we established what we call the Micronutrient Fortification Index, where companies are ranked and food fortification now becomes a KPI in the corporate measurement frameworks of these companies. We also do not just look at the product, we look at their personnel, we look at their public engagement, we look at their production systems, we look at their procurement and their partnerships, and there are scores for all of this, and we look at the governance system. And our hope, and this is a new ranking, this was only launched last year, our hope is that this will continue to inspire the private sector companies to continue to fortify. But let me move on to cashew. And why have I chosen cashew? I've chosen cashew because it's meant to be the home of cashew. The cashew value chain supplies a growing demand for a versatile nut with multiple use cases. There are many things you can do with cashew. If we look at the entire value chain, we see that upstream, there's some work you can do around cashew growing and harvesting, around the nut drying, the sorting and processes, the roasting, and the wholesale retail. But it's also quite interesting to know that there are lots of derivatives that can come out of cashew. We tend to focus only on the nuts. Yes, the raw and roasted kernel is very attractive, and that's what people know. But there's a lot you can do with milk. There's cashew milk being produced in some countries. There's cashew butter that can come out of that. There's cashew flour. It's cashew juice. We actually produced cashew juice next door many years ago in Ilorin. There's cashew oil, there's cashew cheese. But there are also non-food derivatives. Cashew can be used for soap. Cashew can be used, the cashew nut shell liquid can also be used to power engines and help us solve some of our regenerative energy problems. So my question to you, great Ladokites, what is your institution doing to maximize the benefit of cashew? How many of you young folks here are already asking yourself, when I leave here, I'm going to think about what I can do with cashew? You should have that vision. You have cashew trees all around you. So what are you doing about that? The other interesting thing to note, ladies and gentlemen, is that even though West Africa produces 45% of cashew globally. West Africa produces 45% of cashew globally, with Cote d'Ivoire being the leading producer. Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Ghana, the rest of West Africa. We produce 45%, but guess what? Only 7% is processed within the region. Over 90% of the cashew that our parents produce are picked up and sent to India and Vietnam. Why? Are you ready to change that narrative? Are you ready to change that narrative? I would like to come back here in the next 5 years and see how many of you have set up factories to process cashew here in Ogbomoso and in Nigeria. We should change this narrative. You can't be exporting raw kernels. Yes, there's some value in exporting kernels. We bring in raw materials for our country. But there's better value when you add value to it. We create jobs. We build our economies. And so Nigeria is a small producer of raw cashew nuts, but it has large processing potential. In Nigeria, we produce about 200,000 metric tons of raw cashew, with Oyo State, Kogi, and Kwara being the leading producers, and Enugu State. But 180,000 metric tons of this raw cashew are exported as raw, while 20,000 tons are processed locally. I've challenged some of my friends in Oyo State to show me one local processor of cashew in this state. I'm still waiting to be shown that. Of course, there's a processing facility that you had in Ibadan a few years ago that has been shut down. We need to reopen it. We need to fill up the industrial park that Dr. Akonde talked about earlier. The industrial parks that your government is planning to put here, those industrial parks should have cashew processing facilities to help us process this cashew and send them out as processed cashew. And that's one of the reasons why the USDA has actually given TechnoServe a grant with a very ambitious goal to ensure that by 2025, 50%, remember I said from 7%, where we have to ensure that 50% of domestic raw cashew production in West Africa is processed into kernel before we export. That's a very ambitious target, but we're determined to do it. But we can't do it alone. We need the cooperation of the Oyo State government. We need the cooperation of Lautech. We need the cooperation of Oisada. I'm very pleased that my dear friend and brother Debo Akonde is listening. His representative is here. Debo and I have been talking about this. What can we do to support Oyo State to ensure that they help us achieve this target? Lautech, what can you do to help ensure that we change the narrative? This is a slide I got from my friend who was supposed to be here, Mr. Femi Olarutoye. He's the country director of CNFA and one of Africa's finest cashew experts, lives in Ilorin there. And CNFA is investing in a project that's called Pro Cashew. I'm sure some of you have actually seen this. This new report actually shows that Oyo State has the highest quality of cashew. Oyo State has the highest quality of cashew in Nigeria. And so if Oyo State has the highest quality of cashew in Nigeria, why can't we maximize the opportunity? Even better than the one that comes from Kogi and Enugu and Edo and Kwara. And of course, those ones also have fairly high levels. We can't ignore it. But if Oyo State and the other states that we see on this slide have high yield and high quality, then that's a comparative advantage. Again, the question I ask is, what is Lautech going to do about this? It's not enough for me to show you this. We also know that in terms of price, and this is some rough research that was done by Pro Cashew, that when it comes to price competitiveness, Oyo State even takes the lead. So which shows that it's a very profitable venture. I'm sorry about this slide not being very clear, but this is also a slide that talks about that the cashew sector is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it's not enough for us to talk about just the nuts. From the cashew stem, you can produce ink, varnishes, and glues. And those two alone is almost 59 billion US dollars. The same report shows that cashew apple that we throw away, most people throw the cashew apple away. You can use it to produce apple juice. The cashew apple juice industry globally is $172 billion sector. Ethanol, even cake for animal feed is a $400 billion industry. Why am I saying all of this? I'm also using this opportunity to challenge their students here for you to see the enormous opportunities. And I'll leave this slide deck with the dean. So and I trust that the dean will share this in greater details with you guys. Even the cashew nut alone is billions of dollars. So there's a lot you can do. The shell can be used. The shell liquid is also used to manufacture vehicle brake lining. Many, many things. So the question again is, what can we do as LAUTECH to maximize the opportunities? I decided to put this slide to show you the collaboration between TechnoServe, industry, and academia in the Republic of Benin. In the Republic of Benin, we have a project which is called Bini Cashew. It's a cashew program. And in this project, we have the University of Minnesota that has collaborated with a private sector company, Atlas GIS and Altair, to develop a very novel technology to manage cashew. We use drones to collect data. We've used drones to map 190,000 hectares of land, cashew farms in Benin. We've used drones to be able to collect ground yield data. We've been able to develop, the data from that is used to train extension workers. It's helped government with their policy work. They've been able to increase yield. The department, the faculty can also engage in this kind of activities. Private sector companies are dying for collaboration, but you need to be able to deliver, give them some significant value. You need to understand their issues. You need to understand their problems. What do they want? What gaps do you need to fill? And I think once you are able to answer that, then it becomes a lot easier. So there are actually lots of opportunities. And I got this slide from my friend, Dr. Debo Akonde, that talks about the opportunities for agribusiness in Africa. Over $3 trillion US dollars, the size of the Africa Free Continental Free Trade Agreement. If we have in Africa a 3.3 trillion size opportunity, why can't you take a significant chunk of that? But the question is, what do you want to do? You must be clear in your mind about what you want to do. There's also, we know, the opportunity for population growth. It's expected that by 2050, Africa will be 2.5 billion people. That means we would have an additional 1.2 billion people. Who is going to feed them? You have to feed them. That's business opportunity for you. We also know that urbanization has resulted in 35% of current Africa population now being classified as middle class. And so let me, as I end this presentation, let me zero in on this nexus between academia and industry. We know, and it's been established, that you in academia, you generate ideas, you create innovations, and you develop people. But the industry folks, they employ those people that you develop, but they turn your ideas into reality to create resources. Industry will provide funding for you in form of research grants, but only if it makes sense to them, only if there's a business case. They're not going to give you money just for the sake of giving you money. If your ideas make sense and your ideas can contribute to their operations, they'll give you money. So the question is, how do you create that? How do you address their value proposition? And so we know that there are gaps between the two stakeholder groups. You look at things quite differently. Academia is usually interested in creating new solutions with high innovation rate. The industry wants proven solutions with low risk. The academia has a long-range perspective. The industry, short range, because time is money. You guys in academics, you strive for peer. It's about publishing. I want to publish. I want to be a professor, and I want to have 200 publications. And there's nothing wrong with that. But remember that the industry folks would always strive for growth and survival. They're not too interested in your publications. The academia would strive for maximum solution for maximum recognition. The industry wants minimum solution to help them minimize their risk. But are there grounds for you guys to meet? Certainly. But it's about you sitting down and agreeing where is that common ground. It's for you to sit down and recognize your interdependency. The industry needs academics. Academicians also need industry. Recognize your interdependency, build synergies, recognize your mutual interest and concerns, and minimize risk at both ends. I'm actually rounding up now. And so partnership is critical. And I would expect that the academicians will promote multidisciplinary approach to research and learning in your communities. We expect you to develop a framework for long-term and short-term strategic partners. We expect you to address the issues of intellectual property. That's always an issue. Who owns the IP? But it's something you can always sit down with the other stakeholders to address. We expect you to ensure regular dialogues in form of seminars and lectures such as this. But we also expect the industry to support the creation of knowledge hubs, knowledge that is relevant to their growth. They also welcome frequent engagement, but remember that engagement must meet the needs of the industry. And so the role of university-based research institutes will be to help us move R&D from R&D to commercialization. It's not just about research for the sake of research. It's about using your institutions to develop agribusiness, entrepreneurship, and circular economy-focused programs. Dr. Akande talked about all the programs they have under OISADA. What are you doing to partner with Oyo State government and use LAUTECH as a hub to help them drive their own agenda? And I hope that you already have incubation and innovation centers here already. And if they exist, do they fit into the priorities of governments and into the priorities of donors? Do they fit into the priorities of private sector companies? Do you have mentoring and leadership programs that helps our young folks here to really learn how to manage their businesses? If you don't, what partnership structures have you put in place to get this particular value system? What investments are you making in modern e-agriculture? And so when I walked into your beautiful campus yesterday, asking myself some questions. How ready is LAUTECH to actually help Nigeria and the world transform its food systems and ensure that we have sustainable development? What are you doing to bridge that gap between academia and industry? And I got all this from your website, and your PRO repeated them. You are the best state university in Nigeria. Well done. You are the best university of technology in Nigeria. Fantastic. You are the 11th best university in Nigeria in terms of research. Great. You are the 74th best university in Africa in terms of research. Commendable. You are the 4th best university in Nigeria. Fantastic. And I'm glad that you are aspiring to be the best university in Africa, to be number one. And I hope I can extract that commitment from you that within a few years, you will be the best university in terms of transforming the food systems in Nigeria. And so before I conclude, I would like to recognize some people who have been very useful. All these beautiful slides, all these nice slides you saw, they're not all mine. I'm not that clever. I must recognize I got slides and information from a lot of people. Dr. Debo Akonde, who spoke to you earlier, Mr. Olorufemi, who is one of Africa's finest cashew experts and the country rep of CNFA, Dr. Victor Ajero from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Dr. Francis Aminu from the director, who is Director of Health and Nutrition for the Aliko Dangote Foundation, Ms. Nemat Ajibo, Chief of Nutrition UNICEF, Dr. Daniel Abba, and Toby Durotoye, both of them who are my colleagues at TechnoServe. These guys, these people all know about this event, and they gave me enough information, and I'm sure they'll be looking forward to exploring ways to collaborate with Lautech. And so in conclusion, the transformation of the food system is required for effective and nutrition security. If we don't transform the food system, we would be stagnant where we are. It's important that we understand the gaps in the perspective of both stakeholder groups, academia and industry. Understanding those gaps makes it easier for us to find mutually beneficial solutions. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. The situation in Nigeria regarding food and nutrition security, it's not a good one. And I sincerely believe that under the leadership of your Vice Chancellor, your Dean, and all the great professors and lecturers I see here, that Lautech can provide the leadership that we require and demonstrate that academia can add significant value to the development and implementation of the roadmap to sustainable development, food and nutrition security in Nigeria, Africa, and the world. And my closing and parting words to you from Maya Angelou, God bless her soul. And she said, nothing can dim the light that shines from within. Thank you so much for your attention.
Well, I think Dr. Mana deserves a better applause. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there's a unique opportunity for us to ask questions concerning areas where we do not understand. So if you have a question, quickly, we are going to admit just 4. Outside that 4, we'll close this session. So if you have a question, please signify by raising up your hand. Well, Dr. Umona, we thank you for being the best lecturer. They have given you a pass mark. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform us that the faculty are so prepared for us that you will eat, dine, and go with takeaways, because this is the Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences. The acting head of Nutrition and Dietetics Department, Dr. Grace Oluwakemi Babarinde, please come forward to make presentation of gifts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, the chairperson in absentia. I would like to stand on the existing protocols. on behalf of the Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences, we have prepared a little token for our guest lecturer and our guest of honor. It is popularly believed that we should give honor to whom honor is due. So in view of this, I would like to call on Dr. Debo Akonde, ably represented by Mr. Ajetumobi, to come and receive an award of excellence that has been prepared by the faculty. You will all agree with me that in the recent times, we have seen a lot of developments in Oyo State under the governorship of His Excellency Seyi Makinde. And there is a popular saying that a tree cannot make a forest. So all these things have been achieved by the support of many technocrats, astute technocrats, one of which is Dr. Debo Akonde. So in view of this, we want to present an award of excellent service to Dr. Debo Akonde in recognition of his outstanding selfless service to humanity and for the heartfelt goodwill message at our public lecture. So you are welcome, sir. We present this to you on behalf of the dean. We are presenting this to you on behalf of the dean, Professor B.I.O. Adiomowaye. It can be, okay, sorry. We are presenting this to you on behalf of the dean, Professor B.I.O. Adiomowaye, and all members of board of Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences. We appreciate you, sir, and we hope that in the nearest future we'll enjoy more collaboration with you and the government. Thanks for coming. Thank you. I would also like to call on our special, I don't know whether to use the word guest, because we believe he's now part of us. So I would like to call on the lecturer of this auspicious public lecture in person of Mr. Larry Humuna. You will all agree with me that he has done justice to today's title. And I want to assure you, sir, that we are going to change the narratives. We will influence that transformative changes you have been looking for by the grace of God. So in the next 5 years when you come, you will not be disappointed. So join me. Join me as I present Excellent Service Award to Mr. Larry Humuna in recognition of his outstanding selfless service to humanity and the delivery of your classical and impactful lecture that is organized by our faculty. We appreciate you, sir, and thank you for coming.
And when I fall down, I have
Thank you so much. You are welcome once again.
When I fall down, I have
Thank you so much, Mark. We'll be rounding up very soon. But I expected that Dr. Muna was going to announce on behalf of TechnoServe the institution of an in food science and in food and consumer science. I'm sure we'll do a letter to Professor Adiomowaye later. So, Dr. Muna, we're expecting from you. At this point, the deputy dean of that faculty that has promised to feed all of us, I'm talking of Dr. Islamia Folashade Bolariwa. Please come to the podium to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My deans, all the deans here seated, our guest lecturer. I would like to stand on existing protocol. Wow, I believe it has been a very wonderful day to all of us. We are blessed with the lecture. On behalf of the Dean, Faculty of Food and Consumer Sciences, Professor B.I.O. Adeomowaye, and the Faculty Lecture Committee members, we sincerely thank Almighty God for making today's event a grand success. By His blessings and grace, we are able to make this event what it is. On behalf of the faculty, I say a very big thank you to our guest lecturer, Nation. And for delivery, we had the opportunity to hear from your thoughts. And this definitely is encouraging the university and the faculty for our future plans. Our sincere gratitude goes out to our special guest of honor, Dr. Debo Akonde, ably represented by Mr. Adejumobi, for being a goodwill message. We are very grateful to the acting Vice Chancellor of this university for granting us permission to hold this public lecture. We also thank him for his support, and we appreciate that he was part of this event today. We are grateful to the registrar for approving the use of this very beautiful hall and for also being part of our program. We also thank the bursar and the librarian, ably represented by Dr. Funke Ibijua. We thank you, sir. Amas. This type of events cannot happen overnight. The wheels start moving a few months ago. It requires planning and board eyes for details. We have been fortunate to be supported by a very active and dedicated dean, professors, HODs in the faculties, and other members of the faculty. My sincere thanks to our dean, Professor B.I.O. Adeomowaye, for being the catalyst that inspired us to do our best and the star pillar of power. Many thanks to all professors in the faculty for supporting us. We have Professor M. Ologunde, Professor Iti Otunla, Professor E. Akode, Professor B.A. Akiwande for their contribution towards the success of this public lecture. I also thank my HOD of Food Science and Engineering, Professor Mrs. Olanipekun. Thank you for your support. We appreciate the acting head of the Department, Nutrition and Dietetics, Dr. Mrs. G. Obabarinde. Thank you so much for your support and for financial support as well, not only moral. We appreciate you, ma'am. My sincere gratitude goes out to the Faculty Lecture Committee, Professor B.I.A. Akiwande. She was the one that connected us with the guest lecturer of today. We sincerely thank you, Mama. Thank you so much for being there. And our immediate past deputy dean, Dr. J.A. Adejuisan, he actually begins the processing for this public lecture. We thank you so much. We have mamas in our dean, Dr. Mrs. Abioye. She's our mamas. She's the backbone. Every time she keeps calling, hey, chairperson, I hope you did not forget this. We need to put this in place. Thank you so much, ma'am. We also appreciate Mrs. G. Hay, Mr. O.O. CG, and Mrs. Adeyeye. That's our faculty officer. We thank you so much. I like words for their participation and their willingness to complete tasks beyond the comfort zone. You are all appreciated, Mars and stars. With deep sense of appreciation, we thank all academics and non-academic members of the institution for gracing this event. I also want to thank the people who worked behind the scenes to execute this event. The ICT staff, we thank you so much. The electrical and park and garden works unit, we thank you. We appreciate your support. Finally, I'd like to say a very big thank you to all our students, the students of this great citadel of learning, greatest advocates. We thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I hope you have been blessed today with the impactful lecture. Thank you all. God bless you. Our PRO, I thank you. We thank our PRO.
Thank you so much for thanking me. Even though Professor Adeomowaye and answer for it. So please let's rise to take first the Lautech anthem, or your state anthem, and finally the national anthem.
We sing, oh Lautech, your promotion of applied sciences. Oh, see the spectrum and the building of the race of progress. Students of Lautech are the leaders today we manifest. Great staff committed to the training of the total presses. Great Lautech, great Lautech, always stand for excellence. Great Lautech, greatest Lautech, integrity and service. Integrity and service. Integrity and service. Aṣíwájú ni wọ́n, aṣíwájú ni wọ́n, aṣíwájú ni wọ́n. Ipò aṣíwájú l'Ẹlẹ́dùmarè fún wa nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe kiri. Ká tẹpá wọn, ká sòdodo, ká ṣe òtítọ́ tó dára nígbà gbogbo. Níbi gbogbo fòpinlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Onírẹ̀yìn lójú mi, onírẹ̀yìn nígbà tẹ̀lé, onírẹ̀yìn èmi aṣọ tó tọ́ tó dára nígbà gbogbo.
The national anthem.
Rise, O compatriots, Nigeria's calling to serve the fatherland with love and strength and faith. The name of our heroes first shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Thank you all for coming.